Well, and then another thing I read on your website is a little fun fact that you were really into Harlequin romances, and then your women's studies in college kind of turned you off of them. But
Yeah.
obviously now you're writing historical romance. So, did you return to reading Harlequin romance ever? And how do you think about framing romance from a
So I was a huge Harlequin romance reader when I was a teenager in the late 70s and early 80s. And then I went to college and took some women's studies classes, as you mentioned, and realized like why I was so fascinated and both fascinated and sort of appalled by the books. And then I couldn't read them anymore because all the alpha holes could not stand it anymore. So skip ahead 20 some years, maybe 30. And I became a children's literature scholar, and I was doing research about Twilight, about the
Mm,
Twilight series, and for a paper that I was writing, and I wanted to think about Twilight as a romance novel. So I started doing some research into romance, academic romance, and then I found Smart Bitches Trashy Books, and then I found Loretta Chase, and that was the beginning, I guess, for me of rediscovering romance that was different, way, way, way different from the romances that I had read as a teenager. Like so much more agency for women and a lot of people experimenting both with constructions of femininity and construction of masculinity in interesting ways that I really was interested in exploring. So, and I started writing a blog called Romance Novels for Feminists, and I did that for about 5 years. I was trying to explore like what is it about romance that can be considered feminist, because in the past feminism had pretty much looked down its nose at romance as patriarchal and oppressive, but it seemed to be doing a lot different cultural work in the books that I was reading now, or I guess they're from the 2000s and onward, than they had been when I was a kid. And I wanted
yeah,
to talk about that.
yeah. Well, a lot of people like to say that romance is written by women for women, about women, therefore it's feminist.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I totally don't agree with that. I think that, like any genre, a book can be feminist or it can be anti-feminist, depending on what it says, right? I think there's still tons of books out there that are about, oh, let the man take care of me and let the man protect me, and I'll just be his happy consort or person that he takes care of. And, that's fine. People can enjoy those, but I don't think those are feminist books, right? On the other hand, there are books that call explicit attention to gender norms and gender roles and try to challenge them in interesting ways in romance. And I think that's a great vehicle for it because romances are so popular and are working in interesting cultural ways to get us to think about those issues and are shaping our views about what it means to be a woman and what it means to be a man, what it means to be of any gender, what it means to be in relationship with someone else of the same or different gender, and how you negotiate power in those relationships. So I think that's what, for me, when romance is feminist, that's what it does. It thinks about masculinity and femininity and gender, and it thinks about how power in relationship works.
Yeah, I think that I agree. Like it needs to be in some way considering what is the gender that the character is given,
Mhm.
what is their relationship to that, and usually kind of problematizing that. I think I write a lot of cinnamon roll heroes in
Mhm.
part because they are not accepting the specific masculine role that they have
Exactly.
been
Yeah.
given.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I find that to be an essential part of is this a feminist work?
Yeah.
Is it asking what does it mean to be a gender
Yeah. Yeah. I
and what
think
does
that,
that mean for the power?
yeah, a lot of the earliest feminist romance was focused on femininity, but I think the more interesting work today is happening in, as you said, with men, and what does it mean to be a man in our society, or through the lens of our historical books. What does it mean to be a man, and how can that be a positive thing rather than an alpha hole asshole thing? Oops, sorry,
Right.
it's a swear.
Well, yeah, and if there is an alpha hole, I would like to understand I would like to see the character go through an
Right,
understanding of
right,
why is he this way and
right,
what does he want to continue to be.
right, right.
Yeah. Well, we could talk about that for a long time, but we don't
I
have
know.
enough time.
I feel like we could talk for hours and days about a lot
Yeah.
of issues,
Yeah.
but